This week is a bit of a handover week for the Be a Brilliant Human podcast because I was asked by somebody, on this show I talk a lot about NPA, non-personal awareness, and someone said, well, have you got somewhere where I can find out what people are doing with it, how it's being used in the world? And I thought, you know what, I have. I did a recording a few years ago, and I thought this would be a great chance to answer that question by sharing those recordings with you. So after we hear the usual intro from Kim, then that's your cue in a moment, Kim, get ready. Then I'm going to hand you right over to those recordings. I hope you find them inspiring and insightful, and mostly it inspires you to go ahead and download the NPA process from joelyoungmpa.com. Come along to the trainings. And I will insert a little bit before the last section, and you'll see why when it comes to that. Otherwise, enjoy this episode. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and let's do it. That's your cue, Kim. Hit it.
Welcome to the Be a Brilliant Human podcast. You're in the right place if you're a growth-seeking being who acknowledges the challenges and delights of your humanity on the path to an ever more conscious life. If you want to feel inspired to love and accept yourself, to feel free to be and express you in all your brilliance, if you want to truly value yourself and others and feel energized and alive both at home and in the world, then sit back and take a breath as you explore and grow the brilliance of your beautiful human self with your host, the father of non-personal awareness and creator of the NPA process, Joel Young.
Hello, my name's Joel Young. I am the creator and custodian of NPA. NPA stands for non-personal awareness, and the NPA process is a simple practice that can help you stop taking things personally. I've spent many years in the field of human consciousness, helping people shift and transform their lives in all sorts of areas. So I often say that NPA was born in answer to a prayer, and part of that prayer really was, is there an easier way? Is there a quicker way? You see, my experience had been, especially in my own healing journey, that often I'd get caught up in doing these big, deep processes, trawling through my childhood and emoting and all of these things, all of which is great. But after a time, it was like, there must be an easier way. So part of my prayer had that request to the universe from it. So when NPA was born, I found it was so simple, so quick, and it can be threaded into everyday life without making your life the process itself. It becomes a facilitator where there's much more space for you to actually go out and live the wonderful consequences of doing that inner work. Also, I found that it shone the light from a new angle, which again, if you've done a lot of work on yourself, you understand that sometimes you can get a handle on a certain issue, but having a new perspective can open it up to a deeper level, which in that case means you can live life more deeply. So it's used by many people around the world. It's in over 18 countries around the world for people in their own healing journeys, their own personal growth, if you like. And also it's used by many coaches, healers, practitioners of all sorts of modalities, both as a standalone approach or method to help their clients, but also alongside many of the other wonderful modalities that exist that help us to heal and grow in this amazing time on the planet. So now it's my mission to really share the NPA process and the non-personal philosophy with as many people as I possibly can. The NPA process is free and available on my website, which is joelyoungmpa.com. And I also encourage you to come along to the trainings. So part of inspiring you to engage with NPA and the NPA process is to let you know how it's being used in the world. So I'd love to share with you today some examples of feedback I've had from people, and off the back of that perhaps share some gems about how that can relate to your life or what it points to in terms of the journey that all of us share. So I wanted to share a couple of really interesting pieces of feedback I've had for NPA and how it's been worked for sort of instant first aid pain control. So let me start with this one from Sam Nolan. Now, Sam originally set up our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/NPA Rocks, when it was a fan page. Remember back in the day? Maybe you don't. But before they were business pages, they were fan pages. So our page was set up by a fan, and that's why it's called NPA Rocks. So there's a few bits of feedback I've got from her, but I love this one, which talks about some pain control. Here's what she says. Having fallen over on my knees when I was hiking this weekend, I have developed a fresh appreciation of just how useful they are. After a few hours of pain, I suddenly remembered NPA and tried it out, and it worked a treat. I started with a general reference to the pain in my knees, and within a short time I noticed the pain had subsided, but there was still pain in the kneecaps themselves. So I did another NPA process on the kneecaps, and the pain went completely. So I love this, just the fact that she's out there on the mountain, fallen down, does some NPA, and the pain in her knees goes away. But also that it really points to one of those strange things where sometimes we have these abilities, these skills, these tools. NPA is a tool that you kind of keep in your pocket and forgets to use it. So I know this for myself, it has to be said. Sometimes I'll suffer for a while and go, why am I not doing NPA? But she did that for herself, out there on the mountain, did NPA, and the pain went away. Fantastic. So here's another one. This is from Kristina, and I'll just read you what she says. I just had an interesting experience on NPA. I saw a wasp struggling to move, so I thought I'd pick it up and release it. When I picked it up, it gave me a sting, and instantly I was feeling like it was really personal. I was even saying out loud, I was trying to save you, why did you sting me? So I sat on the ground with this wasp unable to move next to me, and I NPA'd the sting. As I said the words, the pain was diminishing, and then when I finished the last sentence about willing to experience it, the pain honestly just seemed to vanish, and the wasp then just started to fly. Coincidence, she says? As I felt not personal about it, I observed the experience from a different angle, i.e. maybe the wasp needed something from me to enable it to fly again. So interesting. So I love this on several levels. Firstly, it's that experience of sometimes you take something personally and you're going to get triggered and you go, "Arr!" And then you go, oh, hang on, I can use NPA, which she does. And then in her case, the physical pain stops, the emotional tension relaxes. And then one of the beautiful things here is she opens into a space where she's able to have a compassionate perspective. Now, this is something I see a lot with NPA. If you're working with someone who seems to be aggressive or attacking or critical, or is doing something which seems particularly directed at you, doing the NPA process can often open people into that compassionate space. And one thing about that is, of course, it shifts the relationship with, especially if it's another person or with an animal or even an inanimate object, but also that allows that compassion to run through your own system, a very healing, powerful and delightful experience. So that's one aspect. And finally on this one, I love that the wasp, which was kind of in its space of I'm paralyzed and just as miffed about this whole experience as you, by the way, Kristina, was in the energy of the process, and so was able to go, oh, it's not personal for me either, and was able to get up and fly. And her original intention, which was to rescue this poor dying wasp, was fulfilled. How wonderful is that? So if you want to get access and learn how to use this tool really, really well, to be able to have that first aid kit out in the field, or even to help animals, or bring yourself into a more compassionate place, then let's get you there. Come find out more about NPA. Okay, so here I want to talk about the NPA programs. So I teach the NPA programs in the advanced events and the advanced trainings, but I wanted to share with you how people have used them. When I talk about how the programs were born, I tell the story of how I lost 4 sizes. It's 4.5 stone, about, I don't know, 50 pounds in the American vernacular, but a lot of weight just using the NPA programs. So that often inspires people, that story inspires people to work on various versions of weight issues. So I wanted to share a little bit of what some of the feedback has been for that. Okay, so let's start with Elina, who's a project manager in Finland. She says, "It's amazing how the method works so well. I realize that I've built this huge wall or barrier around me because I was very hurt a year ago with my attempts to get a relationship. Physically, the barrier is 10 kilos or more of fat. Now I am doing this program with NPA, and I'm quite surprised how it seems to affect my behavior. I have been focusing on taking care of myself, both physically and mentally." One of the things I love about this, and why I chose to use this feedback to start with, is where she says, "I've been focusing on taking care of myself both physically and mentally." So for me, that shows how in her journey, first of all, there's an awareness and awakening to how she's put on weight as an emotional, mental barrier. And by coming into a place of acceptance with that, she becomes free to go from what is basically a form of self-harm when you're trying to feed yourself up, to protect yourself from life, to a place where at the time she offered this feedback, she was really living in a space where self-care had become the automatic priority. Now you can understand when your behavior changes in such a profound way, then the consequences of the lifestyle are going to come forward. In a sense, she came at it looking at how can I lose these extra 10 kilos, but really underneath it, what she discovered with NPA and what she was able to achieve with NPA was to take much better care of herself, look after her body, and come into some peace and openness and healing around the historic hurt that she'd experienced. Okay, next up, let's have Lucie, who's from Holland, and this came to me via Facebook. She says, "Hi Joel, I've been practicing NPA a lot since the seminar. This gave me the courage to start a rather strict diet, and now I'm using the sentences this weight loss," that's part of the NPA process. "And it seems to work well because I'm losing a lot of weight and I feel great. I'm very active and motivated and not feeling sorry for myself as I did in the past. Love your work, kiss, kiss, kiss." Thank you, Lucie. So the reason I picked this one is because she says she has the courage to start a rather strict diet. Now that may seem odd. When I experienced my own physical transformation from doing the NPA program, there was no strict diet. It was very natural, very easy. And I love how NPA guides you to meet your issues in a way which is perfect for you. Now, in her case, it seems that the most natural way was to honor her need for structure in her life. So I can't say this is true, I've not spoken to her about this, but I'm imagining that in the looseness she wasn't able to then sort of ground the experience of the change. But the NPA facilitated in her this ability to recognize that she can actually have the courage to just go for it. So in a sense, as I often say, NPA brings clarity. It gave her the clarity to go, I'm going to put a flag in the ground, I'm going to mark it, I'm going to commit, and here I go. And on the back of that, as she says, she suddenly felt much more active, motivated to do the things that her mind already knew were the things that would help her get to where she wanted to go. So next up, I want to share from Kasia, and again, this one comes from Facebook. She says, "I just wanted to let you know how incredible I found the NPA workshop. As soon as I tackled my weight issues during the practice session, I felt an immediate warm energy expanding in my midsection, growing larger like a balloon being inflated, and then oh so gently just dissipating out. 2 days after the course, I felt at peace regarding my lifelong battle with weight, having started the NPA program you recommended. That in itself is such a relief. Thank you." So I chose this one because of that line though, as she says, where is it? Let me find it. "I felt at peace regarding my lifelong battle with weight." Now, one of the things that I love with NPA is it has a soft, gentle energy that meets you where you are. It has no agenda. It will just sit with you like a friend. And in that, we can drop a lot of the pressure that we often put on ourselves. If she'd been in a battle for years with weight, what does that do? You're constantly in the struggle, the push, pull. There's a strong attachment, there's magnetic energy pulling the issue and her together. So the NPA helped her to relax and open and just be, and in that, natural, healthier steps just became automatic. And I also love this one because it demonstrates how within the workshop itself, or within the training itself, you can have these profound shifts of awareness, these healing moments, and things can change right there at the weekend. So weight loss and fitness is just one of those issues that can be very embedded and stuck in our identity. When I first chose to work on that issue, it was like, well, my identity was so strongly embedded in me being someone who just loves chocolate that it seemed like a mad thing to try. And yet I found that I often say I fell out of love with chocolate and fell in love with salad as I did the program, and also of course I fell in love with exercise. These were just natural things that came to me. So just ask yourself if it could be specifically a weight issue, but any kind of seemingly impossibly embedded sense of who you are. This is just who I am, and there's nothing I can do about it, and I've tried everything. Then consider NPA as a new way in. I've had so much feedback from so many people who've said that by using NPA, and specifically the NPA programs, have managed to completely shift these fundamental traits and habits. Well, I hope you're enjoying this little takeover, this handover episode. As I said, I was going to interject before the last section, which we're about to go into, and that's because I was pondering whether to include it or not, but decided I would. And my questioning was just because it's really offering feedback for our live event, the NPA Expansive Weekend. Now, obviously, as I'm recording this, if you're listening to this as it comes out, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, and live events are just not possible at the moment. But I thought actually that it's pretty valid, not just in terms of our live events, but some of the feedback will help you get a sense of, how we run our online programs that are all fully available. And as we come into 2021 now, I've got plans for bigger events, but they will be kind of online interactive events, which is kind of a live event, but just in the post-2020 way. So I decided to include it. So let's crack on. I'll hand over again back, and I will just quickly pop back in at the end. Here we go. So there are many different ways to engage with NPA and learn and go deeper in the training and the perspectives. So one of those is coming to a live event with me or one of our NPA certified teachers. So I wanted to share some feedback about the event specifically to give you an idea of why it might be good for you to come to the event, or why you might choose that as your way to experience NPA. Of course, it's not mutually exclusive. You can have the online trainings and the live trainings, but I wanted just to share some of the feedback about the NPA Expansive Weekend and the live trainings themselves. So let's start with Mary White, who's a project manager from London. She says, I put what I knew intellectually into real lived experience. It's so simple yet works and clears issues I've struggled with for years. So I love that because she's talking about how it can be that you can get it for free on the website, but you can get it in your brain, but you don't get it in your being. By being in a room with people, by being in the energy and the sharing and the teaching and experiencing with other people, it's a very experiential, all our live events are very experiential. There's a way that you get it so much more, at so much depth, and bring it so much more into your life so it has the most benefit possible. So here's from Lydia Helsby, who's an office manager from Wigan, and she says, a well-organised event with clear instructions, venue easy to find, plenty of support, an enjoyable day with plenty to take away and use in my daily life, a great group of people, an opportunity for support after the event is very useful. So I wanted to share that one because it's just dead straight, right? It's like we run events smoothly, there's plenty of support around it, there's a great group of people. I love that because again, there's something about being in that group with people. I've had other feedback which I don't think I've got here to read today about how people love the experience of the ability to share and just be who you are in the space that's created at an NPA event. So that's why I wanted to share that one. Oh yes, it's just plenty to take away for her daily life. That's always one of my prayers when I teach NPAs. Can they take it away? Can they use it? Is it useful? Is it kind? Then I'm on mission. So this one from Charlotte Kanye, who is a journey practitioner and a birth expert. She says, I loved the workshop, the structure, it felt perfect, lots of experience and sharing, and I'm really pleased I came. Thank you for your passion and enthusiasm and integrity, unflinching presence of allowing all with love and stillness, which supported me and gave me permission to open. All of these qualities make for an amazing workshop and are qualities I am working on feeling myself. So it is fantastic to see living reminders. Thank you. So to me, I love that one because it speaks to the energy of the room. It's about being in a space where you can be yourself, being in a space which is open, where there's a lot of experience, a lot of sharing, a lot of practice, so you can really take it away. And also, not just in the lovely things that she says about me, but I find all the people in the room, we can get these reflections of, we can meet people in a very deep way, and from that enriches our experience. And this last one is from a pharmacist in Finland. And I say pharmacist because I love that people come to NPA from all walks of life. Yes, there's going to be the coaches, the complementary therapists, and those kind of practitioners, but also people who just want to include it in their life. So I'm reading this one because people often will say, well, I've got it for free on the website, why would I come to a workshop? It's only 6 lines, what more can I learn? But again, the experience of the workshop is a profound thing. So she says, in answer to that question, because we asked for feedback, why was so good about coming to the workshop, seeing as you had the process for free? She said, it is absolutely worthwhile. For me, hearing the teaching and learning the skills opened the deeper understanding of NPA. It got under my skin on that weekend, became a part of my everyday life. It gave me a perspective of where, when, and how I can use the tool and bring deeper understanding to what is happening. So if you'd like to come to a live event with me or with one of our NPA certified teachers, check out the website for details. So hopefully this has inspired you as to what's possible with NPA, and I invite you to come and visit the website joelyoungnpa.com and the npaacademy.com, where you can find out different ways to connect with NPA. We do live events, online trainings, and of course you can always get work with me one-on-one. That was the handover. I hope you enjoyed that, complete with background music, by the way. And let me know how you found that. Normal service resumes next week. Have a fabulous one, and all that remains is to hit that subscribe button and cue the move.